check out my Facebook or Instagram. I share just about everything except taking a picture of myself going to the bathroom. So one of the things that I was really honored when Chloe was like, hey, you know what, we're doing this speaker series, and I'd love for you to come share. I'm like, I can share. I love to share, so that's what I'm here to do today. But I wanted to give you a little bit of background on kind of like the first 29 years of my life. I'm only 27, thanks so much. But so the first 29 years of my life, born in Chicago, I'm first generation Asian American. My mom is from Vietnam. She met my biological father, who was Korean. Had me, a year later decided, yeah, you know what, this Korean dude, not having it. Met my stepdad, who's Vietnamese. I am the oldest of 3 girls. Well, it's me and my 2 sisters. So I took the last name Nguyen, which is my stepdad's last name. From Chicago. Been in and out of foster homes between 5 and 7. My stepdad wasn't the nicest stepdad that I had. Wasn't the nicest to my mom either. Decided, my mom said, you know what, we're going to get my kids into modeling and acting in Chicago. So I did a bunch of print work for Sears and Marshall Fields, and I really thrived in that. I think because my home life was kind of shitty. Sorry, earmuffs. My home life wasn't all that wonderful. So I really immersed myself in school and kind of doing commercials. I landed a TV pilot, came out to San Diego with my mom. Filmed at Warner Brothers, did not get the contract. I would have been like a challenging star. But then my mom said, you know what, we're outgrowing Chicago, we're gonna move to San Diego, and we're gonna start a new life, and we're gonna get into acting and all this great stuff. And I was like, yeah, let's go. Then I realized that, oh my gosh, I'm leaving my whole family, my grandparents, everyone in Chicago that I've known in 8th grade to come out here, where there was only 40 of us, and now I'm coming out 8th grade here as junior high. There's 500 people. So now I said, you know what, Mom? I hate you. I don't want to do modeling and acting anymore. I'm just going to hang out and do school. So I joined the yearbook club in 8th grade. I went to Black Mountain, and then I went to Mount Carmel. Anyone here went to high school here in San Diego? Yep, so I'm a Sun Devil from Sun Devils. And then I ended up kind of, you know, doing the straight A, overachiever, AP, Asian nerd thing all through high school. Got to graduate, and I was like, oh my gosh, you don't have to be in class, this is awesome. Went to junior college, never made it to class. Took me 10 years to get my degree, so fast forward to, what is it, I graduated in 94, now you know how old I am, not 27. And I finally got my degree in 2006, so actually more than 10 years, right? Business finance major. So now we're in 2006. This is the year that I find out that I have breast cancer. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I go get a mammogram because when you're 29, you get mammograms. No. My boyfriend was doing this. He's like, oh yeah, oh no. What's going on right there? I'm like, oh, it's a popped blood vessel because I went to boxing and I just did a lot of push-ups. So I ended up going to WMC. Does anyone know what that is? Music conference in Miami for the week. I'm like, oh, it's nothing. Doesn't go away. I'm like, okay. My girlfriend's like, I think you probably should get that checked out. I'm like, it's a popped blood vessel. Don't you see my big muscles? They're like, no, they're get checked out. So I do. Do the mammogram, which sucks really, really bad. They said, well, it looks kind of weird. We need to do an ultrasound. Fine. Do the ultrasound. I see this like little black thing. You know how you think you know? I'm 29. I have no idea. I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, you know, kind of looks a little weird. We're just gonna, you know, they never tell you, right? I'm like, okay, look at the biopsy. You know, they go in, they take a little piece of it. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. The next day, so now I'm what, 20, I'm 29, I'm working at a company, I'm in accounting. I get that call from my doctor, and she's like, Michelle, that's my stage name at work. It's Meeshie off hours. She's like, you have breast cancer. And I'm like, I kind of sat there, and I'm like, kind of didn't register. And I said, okay, and I remember sitting in my bed, and I start to cry, and I don't cry. Those who know me, I don't cry. And I start to cry. And the things going in my head, I'm like, old people get breast cancer. I'm 29, right? Grandmas get breast cancer. I'm 29. Call my mom, which was like probably the hardest thing to do. Mom, I've got breast cancer. And you gotta know my mom, typical Asian mom, right? Owns a salon, does nails, hair, you look so pretty, she's totally that. I'm like, how are you doing since you were 19 and you still have an accent? Have no clue. So, crying about it, she's like, it'll be okay, and I hang up the phone, I kind of still sit on my bed, and I'm like, okay, this is just weird. So I have my 5 minutes of crying. And there was that quote, right? You can have that pity party, have it for an hour, but then you need to move on. That's what I did. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? So I went through dose dense chemo. I did radiation. I did the lumpectomy. I ended up having to do a drug called Herceptin for another year, which is another intravenous drug, because of the strain of breast cancer that I have was super aggressive. And then I had to be on tamoxifen for 5 years. So in that time, and I tell people all the time, don't wait for something tragic in your life for you to embrace life, right? And at 29, I'm just, in my career, having a good time, partying down on Broadway downtown, doing it all. And then all of a sudden I realized, I'm like, okay, if my life had ended, what had I not found that in time, right? Did I leave my mark? Are you guys leaving your mark? Could you die today and be like, you know what, I feel good about it. I lived my life, I did all the things I wanted to do, and I'm good to go. At 29, I wasn't. I was like, I haven't done anything. What have I done? Yay, I was a cheerleader in high school. Yeah, I did a couple commercials. But did I do anything to give back? No, nothing, not one thing. And it sucked. That reality at 30, I'm 30, 31, and that reality really, really sucked. So here I am, going through tamoxifen, and, oh, I didn't tell you this part, this is really important. So in high school, when I was 18, and I probably haven't, I've never said this out loud in public. I found out I was pregnant. And being the straight A, living with my Asian family, very, very strict, I did the thing that I thought was right and never told my parents. And then when I found out I got cancer, they do all the blood tests. And she's like, did you know you were pregnant? So the boyfriend that found my lump, we were pregnant. She said, well, you can go through the chemo. It's a chance you have to take. There's been success. I'm like, well, that's just, I can't. I couldn't do it. So I did what I thought I had to do at that time as well. Never told my boyfriend at the time until many, many years later, because we're still really good friends. And so going through tamoxifen, so fast forward back to the tamoxifen. I'm going through tamoxifen, 2.5 years into it, I get pregnant. And I'm like, okay. And I'm not the most godly person, but I believe, in a higher being, I believe there's a God, and I said, okay, once, twice, this is my third time. And so I knew that the relationship that I was in at the time, if I were gonna keep this child, it was gonna be a little turmoil. But I was like, you know what, I'm willing to do that, and it's okay. So I did it. I stopped the tamoxifen. That little boy right there is gonna be turning 7 in a couple of weeks. His name is Maddox. And so throughout this, fast forward so we had Maddox in 2010. My mom finds out she has stage 4 lung cancer in 2014. So apparently she was living with my sister, she couldn't breathe, they rushed her to the emergency room, they look at her lungs, it's full of fluid, they do a thoracentesis, they pull it out, they send it to the lab, they're like, ma'am, you've got stage 4 lung cancer, terminal lung cancer. So then I get the call. Now imagine, I've gone through cancer, right? I'm all about the chemo and all of the, and my mom calls me, she says, hey, Shelly, it's my other name, I have lots of names. I've got lung cancer. And I was like, Mom, really? She goes, yes, we need to have a family meeting. So we have a family meeting, and I just remember hanging up that phone, and I'm like, at 29, that chemo is horrific. And I remember saying, how do older people in their 60s and their 70s go through this and make it out okay? And I just thought about my poor mom, who's 60 at the time, was going to be 64, is going to have to go through this. So she goes through it, and while she goes through it, I remember thinking, okay, I lost all my hair when I went through the chemotherapy. And here's my mom going through it again. And I said, the first time I didn't have the choice to lose my hair, right? And for females, that's kind of like our beauty thing, right? It's like hair and boobs. That's like our thing. That's what makes us feel feminine and kind of alive, and it's female. And when someone takes that away from you, you're like, unless it happens, you're like, whoa, right? So I said, you know what, Mom, when you go through chemo, I'm cutting my hair. So I got into a mohawk, shaved the sides, had this whole mohawk thing going, loved it, you can kind of still see it, and I've kept it ever since. She passes away in February of 2014. Let's see, she found it in 2012, she passed away in 2014. So it's been going on 3 years, right? So during that time when she's going through chemo, I found an organization called LiveLifeSHREDDED. And people think that it's all about, you know, shredding the body, right? Like working out and fitness, but it's more than that. It is that, right? It's more than that. It's shredding the fat, the excess, the toxins in all aspects of your life. So, are you mentally cloudy up there? You know, in your head. Well, that's toxins and excess you can shred, right? Other things at work that's happening that you just feel unorganized, right? What is it? You've got to shred that excess, that fat, those toxins, right? So it's like thinking about what are the things in your life that you need to streamline, to shred, to get rid of, to make your life more productive, more streamlined, and to get more things done, right? How are you going to make your mark? I think that's really, really important to give back. It's funny how the human soul, when you're giving back and you're doing something good, you're like, wow, this feels really awesome, right? 'Cause it's not about you. And before 29 and prior, that was all about me. Look, I'm on TV. Look, who cares about all that, right? My time that I felt the best and the most alive was when I was doing something and I saw the smile on someone else's face. That's when I felt the most alive. And maybe you're like, oh, I'm just so busy. Well, you know what? Then you need to shred something in that life of yours so you're not so busy, so you can do something for someone else. Right? So shred it. So that's one of the things I was going to talk about tonight. So think about something in your life that you want to shred. And each of those letters in that word actually means something. So S, select. Select something. Just think, it could be something easy. It could be something like, I wish I could just clean my house, and I feel like a clean house lets you do things outside of that house when your house is cluttered. So that's like a Zen thing. So it could be something as simple as that, right? And then the H stands for, how has it affected my life? Think about that. How is whatever it is that you're thinking about affecting you negatively, or slowing you down, or preventing you from succeeding and moving forward? Okay? And so when you start thinking about that, you're like, oh geez, it's kind of overwhelming. I didn't really want to think about it. I was kind of shoving it under the rug. Well, that's what the R is for. It's to relax and regroup. Okay, just relax and regroup. Because you've selected it, you've figured out how it affected you, and now you're going to relax and be like, okay, I'm going to woosah about it. I'm going to regroup, and it's okay. Okay, so the E now, S-H-R-E, the 8. So there are 8 letters in shredded. You got to think of 8 things that you think that you can do, that you know you should be doing, but you just don't want to do it, to help shred this area that you want to streamline. Okay? And then you're at the DD. So S-H-R-E-D-D is decide to dedicate. That's the hardest part. You can sit here all day long and be like, okay, my life really sucks. I really need to clean my room. I wanted to go, do all these other things. But to decide to dedicate and really mean it, because like, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Or I'm going to do it in 3 days. No, you got to do it now. Decide to dedicate today that you're going to have an action item plan to do it. Right? And that's the E, execute. Execute what you're going to decide to do of those 8 things. It could be 2 of the 8. It could be 1 of the 8. I don't care what it is. Execute something on that 8 list that you made. Right? And then the last D is your deadline, so you can be done. What's your deadline? Okay, you know what? I'm going to take baby steps. I'm going to give myself 30 days. You know what? I can knock this out in a week because it's an easier task to do. Knock it out in a week. And then be done with it. And then move on to the next thing you want to shred in your life. So I hope my story gave you a little inspiration that, all the things in your life that happens, everything happens for a reason. And I think, Kyle and Jake said it perfectly, right? Uncertainty, there's a lot of uncertainty in my life, but you have to just, you know, pick it up and go for it. Because you know what? Staying stagnant is not helping anyone. It's definitely not helping yourself, right? Make sure you take care of yourselves. Being healthy is really important. And then when I say healthy, people say, oh, live life shredded, yeah, we're gonna get super buff. No, it's really like, is your heart healthy? Are you eating right, right? Because if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of anyone else? Especially being a mom. If I'm not healthy and I'm not doing the right things and I'm not doing things to prevent myself from getting the flu or washing my hands, whatever it is I need to do to be a very responsible mom, he will feel the effects of whatever I don't do, right? Your friends and family will feel the effects, whatever you don't do for yourself. If you're down and out and they care about you, they're going to be down and out. Take care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself first, right? They're not on the airplane when they tell you, okay, no, don't. You're on the train with yours and me. You're on the plane and then, you know, the little gas mask, they always tell you, put your mask on first before you assist others. Well, why? Because if you can't do your thing, how are you going to do it and help anyone else, right? And so when she said that, someone had told me that, I'm like, that is brilliant. That is right. But it's like, I would think, oh my gosh, I gotta get that mask, put it on Maddox first. Well, if I'm suffocating and I can't get that on him first, that's not gonna help anyone. So I hope today that I inspired you a little bit and gave you some tools to help you guys live life shredded. Thanks.